We have a new civil war going on inside of MAGA and the Republican Party. And it stems from a few days ago, Tucker Carlson did a 2 hour long puff interview with white nationalist, racist, anti Semite Nick Fuentes, who I learned in reading up for this video is only 27 years old. He has never had a girlfriend, and by all accounts, is still a virgin when it comes to women, but also claims to be straight. I'm not. I don't. Who knows, man? I don't even know. Not that there's anything wrong with that, but the negative reactions from people on the right to Tucker Carlson for having done this interview and for platforming someone like Nick Fuentes and his horrific ideas. A guy who loves America, Nick Fuentes loves America, wants it to be all white and capitalism and all of that, but loves Stalin. Okay. I mean, he's young. You know, young people can be forgiven for being dumb now and then. But this past weekend, Florida Representative Randy Fine, who is an absolute lunatic, laid into Tucker Carlson during a speech to fellow Jewish Republicans on Saturday. Students were holding signs that says, "Tucker is not MAGA," with the crowd cheering him on at the annual Republican Jewish Coalition Summit. Randy Fine called Carlson the most dangerous anti-Semite in America and accused him of leading a modern-day Hitler Youth. I, for one, have not seen a lot of young people following Tucker Carlson anywhere, but, you know, what do I know? Randy Fine is a bad person, but he speaks for a lot of Republicans on this issue. Top Republicans blame Carlson and his grip on the MAGA movement for what they see as rising anti-Semitism. I'm reading from an article from Punchbowl News that came out earlier today. I'll start that again. Top Republicans blame Carlson and his grip on the MAGA movement for what they see as rising anti-Semitism and declining support for Israel within the Republican Party, particularly among the younger generation. I don't know, maybe the genocide in the Gaza Strip has something to do with that as well. I'm just spitballing here. In a fiery speech, Ted Cruz said the GOP is facing an existential crisis over right-wing anti-Semitism, but too many Republicans, Cruz added, won't confront these forces by name because they are terrified of upsetting people with really big megaphones. Apparently not naming Tucker Carlson by name when saying that. Possibly. I'm not sure. Rick Scott, senator from Florida, said that Republicans shouldn't promote people who want to destroy our relationship with Israel. I think Israel is doing that, a fine job of that themselves. Most of the speakers at this Republican Jewish conference, regardless of whether they denounced Carlson by name, downplayed the issue by arguing that it's a much bigger problem on the left because Zoran Mamdani, that's right. From the Daily Beast, Ben Shapiro dedicated an entire episode to Tucker Carlson and his interview with Nick Fuentes, saying, "My friendship with Tucker Carlson is over." I don't know if you ever saw that meme with the guy whose name is Musadir, Musadir, who swapped out one best friend for another best friend. It's a great meme. I just envision that with Tucker Carlson and Ben Shapiro. Ben Shapiro described Tucker Carlson, his former friend, as an intellectual coward, a dishonest interlocutor. No one in Ben Shapiro's office or audience knows what that word means, and a terrible friend. That outrage followed Carlson's 2-hour-long interview with Nick Fuentes, who casually uses the N-word in his live streams, is proudly anti-Semitic, and says racist Jim Crow laws are better for us, meaning white people. The issue here isn't that Tucker Carlson had Nick Fuentes on his show last week. He has every right to do that, said Shapiro. The issue here is that Tucker Carlson decided to normalize and fluff, interesting choice of words there, Nick Fuentes, and that the Heritage Foundation, who wrote Project 2025, robustly defended that. More comments from Ted Cruz. I don't care. There was more on that episode of the Ben Shapiro show from earlier today, Monday, November 3rd, on the website Mediaite, and which Ben Shapiro introduced by saying, I wanted to take some time to really gather my thoughts and speak on it in a coherent, holistic fashion. The topic I want to discuss is fragmentation of the political right. That fragmentation is being caused purposefully by a splinter faction of people led by a young man named Nick Fuentes. They call themselves Groypers. We learned about them about 6 weeks ago. They are white supremacists. They hate women, Jews, Hindus, many types of Christians, brown people of a wide variety of backgrounds, blacks, Americans' foreign policy, and America's Constitution. He left out the gays. They admire Hitler and Stalin, and that splinter faction is now being facilitated and normalized within the mainstream Republican Party in the absence of Charlie Kirk. The main agent in that normalization is Tucker Carlson, who is an intellectual coward, yada, yada. And Tucker Carlson last week was aided and abetted, celebrated for normalizing Nazism within the Republican Party, and was bolstered in that by the Heritage Foundation. And a bunch of these folks got bent. Do you remember when Tucker Carlson interviewed Ted Cruz and was like, what's the population of Iran? And made him look like a clown. I thought that was funny. Mark Levin went off on Tucker Carlson at an event. He went off on Tucker Carlson, Nick Fuentes, Steve Bannon, Candace Owens, and many others. He called them mentally unhinged bigots because they're critical of Israel. And the lowest of the low lives among them. Nick Fuentes, Bannon, is a criminal, Owens, of course, but this guy, Tucker Carlson, he's smart enough to know better. And for him to platform Nick Fuentes, who spent the last several years doing everything he could to libel Charlie Kirk. Nick Fuentes hated Charlie Kirk, to destroy Charlie Kirk because Charlie wanted him as far away from Turning Point USA events as possible. He wouldn't invite him, yada, yada. So there was a lot of jealousy there. The Wall Street Journal did a piece on this as well, on Tucker Carlson and Nick Fuentes. The editorial board wrote a piece entitled "The Right's New Anti-Semites." Kind of gives you, yeah. Steve Bannon responded to all of this on his show today by saying he was going to denaturalize and deport Zoran Mamdani before losing his mind and going off on Mark Levin, who had made a bunch of mean comments about Steve Bannon relative to Tucker Carlson. So it's like they're all fighting with one another. Steve Bannon said, this is not a debating society. We're not in some salon on the Upper East Side over some tea and martinis. Weird combo. Mocking the pearl clutching over Tucker Carlson's interview with Fuentes. He said, so please spare me. Please spare me what you're going to do, okay? Please spare me your definition of what MAGA is. We've been in the trenches with MAGA from the beginning when you guys hated Trump. You hate Trump all the time except when he's doing something for you. He's talking about Republican Jews in this part of his conversation. Mark Levin, he does nothing but blow hot air. Mark Levin, instead of running your mouth, what are you doing in New York City? I tell you what we're doing. We're going to denaturalize Mamdani. I was not aware that Steve Bannon had the power to do that. We're going to move the financial capital of the world. We're just going to give up on yada, yada. Okay. He started babbling and it didn't make any sense. But Steve Bannon closed out by saying, history shows when we stand and fight, we win. If we don't quit, we win. We have resilience. We can take a punch and then punch back harder. Never forget the lessons. Divine Providence allowed this election to be stolen for a purpose. Oh, the 2020 stuff. So MAGA are tearing themselves to pieces over Tucker Carlson's interview with Nick Fuentes. I love to see it. We all love to see it because they're all Nazis anyway. It's like, why do they care if one of them interviews an actual Nazi?